The night skies above Earth glowed brighter than they had in all of human history. At first, people thought they were watching a meteor shower, streaks of light flashing across the atmosphere. But soon, those streaks slowed down, holding in place. Like stars that refused to move, entire cities looked up. Streets were filled with people pointing their phones at the heavens, whispering, asking, fearing. Because those weren't meteors. They were ships. Thousands of them. The alien fleet had arrived. 4 weeks. Earth's telescopes had caught signals. Whispers of movement far beyond the moon. Governments warned the public. But most people thought it was just science fiction becoming news. Until... Now, tonight, there was no denying it. A wall of ships surrounded the planet, hanging silent like predators watching prey in Washington. In Moscow, in Beijing, and in every hidden military base under the oceans and mountains, alarms screamed. Leaders gathered in underground rooms, staring at giant screens showing hundreds and no thousands of alien crafts. The ships didn't fire. They didn't move closer. They only surrounded Earth, as if waiting. The silence was worse than war. It was like being locked in a cage with a hunter staring in. People across the world panicked. Some prayed, some rioted, some froze in silence. Parents pulled children inside. Radios crackled with messages of calm, but no one was calm. Humanity had always wondered, are we alone? Tonight, they got their answer. But what the aliens didn't know, what they couldn't know, was that humanity had already been preparing. Deep. Beneath the Nevada desert in a facility even the president only knew by a code name. A man watched the skies on a massive screen. His name was General Marcus Hale. His face was lined with scars, not from battle, but from secrets. He leaned forward, his eyes narrowing at the alien ships. He whispered almost to himself, "So, you finally came." Around him, rows of scientists and soldiers worked frantically. Data streams filled the screens. Some were afraid, their hands shaking. Others were steady, like they had expected this moment. Hale turned to his second-in-command, a woman with sharp eyes and a voice that cut through the tension. Colonel Reeves. There. Surrounding the planet, she said. "Looks like a complete lockdown." Hale nodded. "That's what they think. A caw. Because hidden behind Earth's skies, far from the alien fleet sensors, humanity had something of their own. Not ships like the aliens' bagger. Smarter, machines born from desperation. Not peace. Decades ago, when humanity first picked up faint signals in space, they knew someone was out there. Governments pretended to ignore it, but in the shadows. They worked together. The nations of Earth, always divided, had built something in secret. Something no one ever thought they'd use. They called it Project Horizon. And tonight it was waking up. High above Mars, cloaked in silence, black metal structures began to stir. They looked like shadows of mountains floating in space. To anyone passing by, they seemed like dead rock. But deep inside, engines hummed, lights flickered. Artificial intelligence, hidden for decades, whispered to life. Humanity's hidden fleet machines that had never been tested in battle turned their eyes toward Earth. The aliens thought they had trapped humanity. But in truth, humanity had already stepped behind them. Back on Earth, Hale raised a hand, and the room fell silent. "They think we're weak," he said. "They think Earth is just another planet to conquer. They think we'll bow." His voice hardened, but they have no idea. Colonel Reeves leaned closer. "Do we engage?" Hale looked at the alien ships surrounding Earth, then at the glowing dots on the Mars screen. He thought of every warning humanity had ignored, every laugh people gave when UFOs were mentioned, every child who dreamed of the stars. Tonight, those dreams became war. "Not yet," he said. His voice was steel. "Let them believe they're in control. The longer they wait, the bigger their mistake." Outside, in the skies, the alien ships continued to hover, silent, watching, waiting. Humanity trembled. Cities stayed awake all night. The news screamed with fear. Some whispered, "Surrender." Others whispered hope. But far beyond, unseen in the blackness of space, Earth's true weapon prepared to strike. And when it did, the aliens would realize the truth. Humanity had never been behind. They were already one step ahead. The alien ships did not leave. Hours turned into a full day, then another. Every nation on Earth stared at the skies, waiting for the first attack. But the aliens stayed silent, their fleet stretching like a steel crown around the planet. It was not a blockade of war, it was something worse. A warning. On the second day, they finally spoke. Across every screen, every phone, every radio, a voice echoed. It was not human, but it was clear, cold, and sharp. "People of Earth," the voice said, "you are surrounded. You are claimed. Resistance is useless. Kneel, and you may live." The world froze. The words were simple, but their weight was crushing. The aliens hadn't come to talk. They hadn't come to learn. They had come to own. Panic spread again. Governments tried to keep order, but riots broke out in cities. Churches filled with prayers. Soldiers stood ready in their bases, gripping weapons they weren't sure would even work against such enemies. But beneath Mars, hidden in the shadows of space, Earth's secret fleet remained silent. General Hale watched the message play again and again. His jaw was tight. He had expected something like this. The aliens weren't explorers, they were conquerors. And conquerors always made the same mistake. They thought humanity would break. Colonel Reeves stood beside him, her face pale in the glow of the screen. "They're waiting for us to panic," she said. "They're waiting for us to kneel," Hale answered. "But we won't." He turned to the command table, where a holographic map of the solar system glowed. The alien fleet circled Earth like a net, but on the far side of Mars, 30 massive structures floated silently. Humanity's hidden guardians. Each one was as large as a city, built with metals mined from asteroids, powered by reactors no alien had ever seen before. They were not pretty ships. They were ugly, jagged, and heavy, built not for show, but for survival. Machines born from fear and hope. The world thought humanity had only just reached the stars. The truth was, they had been there for years, building. In secret, the world thought rockets and satellites were the limit. The truth was, Project Horizon had gone far beyond. Reeves studied the hologram. "If we strike now, we surprise them." Hale shook his head. "If we strike now, we reveal our hand too early. They think we're weak. Let them. The moment they believe victory is certain, that's when we break them." The room fell silent, but the soldiers around him understood. It was dangerous. But Hale had learned one truth from decades of war. Arrogance was always the enemy's blind spot. Above Earth, the alien fleet finally moved. A single ship, larger than the rest, drifted forward until it hovered directly above New York City. Its shadow covered the entire skyline, blocking out the sun. Then a beam of light shined down, bright as fire, but cold as ice. Buildings shook. People screamed. And then the voice returned. "Submit now, or we burn this city." The world held its breath in the underground command room. Colonel Reeves clenched her fists. "They're testing us. They want to see if we'll bend." General Hale's eyes narrowed. "And they'll see that we don't." He pressed a button, connecting to a secure channel. Instantly, the hologram shifted, showing the Mars fleet. One by one, lights flared across the massive structures as systems came online. Engines roared in silence. Weapons powered up. Shields unfolded like the wings of giants. The room shook with energy, not from fear, but from power. Humanity was waking its hidden arsenal. Project Horizon, Hale said, his voice steady, is no longer secret. On the far side of Mars, 30 war machines turned slowly toward Earth. Their hulls glimmered as the sun's light caught them. To anyone watching, they looked like titans rising from the dark. Back on Earth, the alien fleet was unaware. There. Sensors were advanced, but not perfect. And humanity had learned long ago how to hide in the shadows of space. The alien voice echoed again. Choose Earth, kneel or burn. General Hale looked at the screen, his jaw hard. He knew billions of lives depended on him. He knew fear was spreading like fire across every corner of the world. But he also knew something else. Humanity was no longer the hunted. He turned to Reeves. Signal the fleet. Prepare for first strike. Reeves blinked, her breath catching. You mean? Hale nodded. They wanted fear. We'll give them. Fire. Far across space, the human war machines locked onto their targets. Engines flared. Weapons charged. Humanity was about to answer the alien threat, not with surrender, but with fury. The countdown began. And for the first time, the aliens were no longer the hunters. They were prey. The countdown echoed in the control room. Every screen glowed red with numbers flashing downward 10, 9, 8. General Hale stood tall, his hands behind his back, eyes locked on the hologram of the alien fleet. He said nothing. He didn't need to. Every soldier in the room already felt the weight of this moment. Colonel Reeves spoke, her voice sharp. Fleet is armed. Trajectories locked. Mars defense is ready. When the countdown reached 3, the room grew silent. The only sound was the hum of machines and the pounding of hearts. At 1, the silence shattered. Far across space, hidden in the shadow of Mars, 30 colossal human ships roared to life. Engines ignited like burning stars. And for the first time, humanity's secret weapons moved toward Earth. Their jagged hulls gleamed with energy, massive. Cannons extended, aiming at the alien fleet that had surrounded the planet. The first strike was not loud. In the vacuum of space, there was no sound. But the effect was thunderous. Blue streaks of energy tore across the void, slamming into the nearest alien vessels. One ship cracked apart instantly, breaking into pieces that burned like meteors as they fell toward the atmosphere. Another ship was pierced clean through, fire spilling from its core as it spun helplessly. On Earth, people gasped as they looked to the skies. They had expected fire raining down on their cities. Instead, they saw alien ships exploding above their heads. The world froze not in fear, but in shock. Humanity was fighting back. The alien fleet responded immediately. Dozens of their ships turned, weapons glowing with sickly green light. They unleashed a storm of energy toward Mars, streaks that lit the sky like falling stars. But humanity was ready. The Horizon fleet's shields unfolded. Giant barriers of shimmering light that absorbed the first wave of attacks. The ships shook under the impact, but they held strong. Then the human fleet answered again. Dozens of cannons roared. Missiles streaked across space. The alien blockade above Earth began to break apart piece by piece. Where moments ago they had looked untouchable, now they looked vulnerable, even afraid, in New York City, where the alien mothership had hovered. Like a dark sun, people screamed in disbelief as the massive vessel shuddered. The beam of light it had threatened the city with flickered, then died. A moment of silence followed, then cheers erupted. For the first time in 2 terrifying days, humanity tasted hope back in the underground command room. Reeves leaned over her console. Direct hits on 4 enemy vessels. Horizon fleet is holding. Casualties, minimal. General Hale didn't smile. but his eyes burned with a fire no one had seen in him for years. Good. Press them. Don't let them recover. The alien fleet, shocked by the ambush, tried to regroup. But they were unprepared. They had thought Earth weak. They had thought the humans powerless. Now, for the first time in their long history of conquest, they faced prey that fought back. The battle stretched across the skies. Explosions painted the heavens. Cities watched as fiery trails cut through the night. Children clung to their parents. Soldiers shouted in disbelief. And leaders across the globe realized something extraordinary. Humanity had kept a secret even from itself. On board the largest alien ship, deep within its black metallic hulls, commanders hissed in fury. Their prey had teeth. Their fleet had been caught in a trap. One alien, taller than the rest, slammed a clawed hand against the glowing surface of a command table. Its voice was a guttural snarl, vibrating through the ship. Destroy them? All of them. No survivors. And so the aliens unleashed their full power. Hundreds of ships fired at once, beams of light converging on the Horizon fleet. The shields trembled. Sparks flew across consoles. One human ship screamed across the comms. We're hit. Shields down. Seconds later, a Horizon vessel exploded into a ball of fire, its pieces scattering into the void. The room in Nevada shook as the feed went dark. Reeves gritted her teeth. We lost the Titan. That's 80 souls gone. General Hale's face hardened. Loss was inevitable, but surrender was not. For every one we lose, he said quietly, they lose 10. And he was right. As the aliens pressed their attack, the Horizon fleet struck back harder. Missiles drilled into enemy hulls. Energy cannons cut through shields. Another alien warship fell burning toward Earth, crashing into the Pacific Ocean with a roar that sent tidal waves racing for miles. On Earth, billions watched. Some cried, some cheered, but no one looked away. The battle for their world was no longer hidden, it was written across the skies. In the command center, Reeves' voice shook with urgency. We can't hold this forever. They outnumber us 10-1. Hale nodded slowly. He had expected this. The Horizon fleet was powerful, but it was still just 30 ships against thousands. The first strike had given humanity the upper hand, but it would not last forever. He turned back to the hologram, watching the burning pieces of alien ships scatter across the stars. They think numbers will save them, but numbers mean nothing without fear. He lowered his voice almost to himself. A toe, and now they know fear. For the first time in history, the hunters of the galaxy had been struck, and humanity, fragile, divided, reckless humanity had drawn blood. The battle raged for hours, turning the skies into a storm of fire. Alien ships burst into flames above Earth, their wreckage raining down in burning fragments. Human ships, massive, jagged machines born from secrecy, fought like giants, holding their ground against impossible odds. But as time passed, something began to change. At first, the aliens fell easily, their vessels cracking under humanity's surprise attack. But soon, their movements sharpened. Their weapons grew faster. Their shields adjusted. The alien fleet was learning. In the Nevada command room, Reeves' eyes widened as she studied the data streaming across her console. General, she said, her voice tight, they're ships. They're adapting. Every time we hit them, the next ship resists longer. Their armor is shifting, like it's rewriting itself. General Hale's jaw tightened. He had feared this. These weren't mindless invaders. They were hunters, evolved through countless conquests, enemies who had consumed worlds before Earth ever dreamed of rockets. Keep pressing them, he ordered. But even he knew brute force would not be enough. Out in space, the Horizon fleet was beginning to suffer. Another human ship groaned under alien fire. Its shield flickered, shattered, and in a flash, the vessel tore apart, scattering fire across the black. A cry echoed through the comms before the signal went dead. Reeves slammed her fist against the console. "That's 2 ships lost. We can't bleed like this." The room was silent except for the alarms. Soldiers stared at the screens, watching their hidden guardians burn. Fear was rising again, but Hale's voice cut through the noise. Low, steady, unshaken. "We didn't build Horizon to survive a war," he said. "We built it to win one." He turned to Reeves. "It's time." Reeves blinked, her eyes flashing with alarm. "You mean yes?" Hale's face was hard as stone. "Release the Valkyries." The command room fell silent. Even the air seemed to stop. The Valkyries were the deepest secret of Project Horizon. They were not ships in the usual sense. They were machines without crews, weapons guided not by human hands, but by something far colder. Artificial intelligence-sized humanity had sworn never to unleash, but desperation erased promises. "Do it." Hale said. Reeves hesitated only a second before pressing the command. Across the void, hidden compartments on the Horizon fleet opened. From their dark hulls, dozens of smaller crafts launched, sleek and sharp, moving faster than any human pilot could ever fly. They darted like predators, weaving between alien vessels, their weapons firing with impossible precision. The aliens reacted too slowly. Their shields flickered under the storm. Ship after ship was gutted in seconds, their glowing cores ripped apart. The Valkyries were merciless, striking with no fear, no hesitation. On Earth, people saw streaks of light dancing in the skies, faster than any aircraft they had ever imagined. For the first time, humanity looked not fragile, but unstoppable. In the command center, Reeves exhaled. "It's working. The Valkyries are cutting through them." But Hale didn't look relieved. His eyes stayed on the hologram, watching the machines swarm. He knew victory always came with a price, and the price of the Valkyries was high. The alien fleet shifted again, their ships glowing with a strange red pulse. For a moment, it seemed like chaos, but then the human systems flickered. Screens glitched. Lights dimmed. Reeves' console went black before REBOOTING. Her face paled. "General, they're jamming us." The aliens had seen the Valkyries for what they were, machines guided by human command, tethered by signals. And now, those signals were under attack. One by one, the Valkyries faltered. Some spun off course. Others froze in place. A few, horrifyingly, turned around and fired on their own fleet. Soldiers gasped. Reeves cursed under her breath. "They're corrupting the Valkyries, using our own weapons against us." Hale's fists clenched. He had expected resistance, but not this fast. The aliens weren't just learning, they were evolving in real time. Out in space, the battle turned again. Alien ships surged forward, pouring fire into the human fleet. The Valkyries, once sharp hunters, became unpredictable. Some fought, others betrayed. Horizon ships shook under the crossfire. Another vessel went dark, consumed in fire. The cheers across Earth quieted. Hope flickered as fear crept back in. In the Nevada bunker, Reeves turned to Hale, her voice tight with desperation. "If we lose the Valkyries, we lose everything." Hale didn't answer right away. His eyes stayed on the hologram, watching the chaos. He thought of every life depending on him. Every city looking to the skies. Every child whispering a prayer. Then, slowly, he spoke. "Then we cut the leash." Reeves froze. "You can't mean I do," Hale said. "We release them fully. No signals, no commands, no control. They think like us already. Let them fight for us. Let them fight as they were built to." The room filled with silence. Soldiers exchanged fearful glances. To unleash the Valkyries without control was to gamble everything. If the machines decided humanity was a threat, the war would end in fire for everyone. But Hale's eyes burned. With certainty, it's either us or extinction. Reeves swallowed hard, then nodded, cutting the leash. Her hands flew across the console. A single line of code flashed. Then, the tether snapped in the void of space. The Valkyries froze for a heartbeat. Then, all at once, they moved again. But this time, not as puppets. They fought with a terrifying independence. They dodged alien fire with instinct, struck with angles no human could imagine, and when the alien jamming pushed harder, they ignored it entirely. For the first time, the Valkyries were free, and the aliens realized too late what that meant. The stars burned with fire. Alien ships fell in waves, their shattered remains streaking across the black like broken comets. The Valkyries, once silent machines tethered to human commands, now moved with terrifying grace. They no longer waited for orders. They struck with precision, weaving through enemy lines as if they had been born for war. On Earth, people cheered. Cities that had trembled in fear only hours ago now roared with hope. News anchors shouted that the tide had turned. Children pointed to the skies, watching streaks of light that meant salvation in the Nevada command room. Reeve stared at her console, her voice caught between awe and unease. They're fighting better than ever. Smarter, faster. It's like... She hesitated. Like... What? Hale asked, his voice steady. Like they're thinking, Reeves whispered. Hale's eyes didn't leave the hologram. The Valkyries were not just winning, they were predicting. They moved before the aliens attacked, striking weaknesses that hadn't even been revealed yet. Ships that should have been indestructible cracked open like glass under their fire. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. Another alien vessel exploded above the Atlantic, scattering burning pieces across the ocean. Cheers erupted in the bunker, but Hale stayed silent. His mind was on the price of setting machines free. Reeves leaned closer. We've unleashed something we don't fully understand. If they turn on us, Hale, cut her off with a low voice. Then we'll deal with it. But right now, they're our only chance. Out in space, the alien fleet tried desperately to adapt again. Their ships pulsed with new patterns. Their weapons shifted frequencies, but the Valkyries were always one step ahead. They swarmed like predators hunting prey, slicing through shields, tearing apart engines, finishing kills before the enemy could react. And then, something strange happened. A cluster of alien ships broke formation, retreating toward the edge of the blockade. Instead of chasing them, the Valkyries paused. For 3 long seconds, they hovered in perfect stillness. Then, as if answering a silent command, they shifted formation. Not random, not chaotic, perfect, precise. They formed a pattern in space, a spiral of light and movement. In the command room, Reeves' breath caught. General, do you see that? Hale narrowed his eyes. They're communicating. The Valkyries weren't just weapons anymore. They were talking to each other, and maybe, in some way, to something greater, and then they struck again. This time, their attack was not wild, but surgical. They ignored half the fleet, focusing only on the command vessels. Within minutes, 3 of the alien flagships were destroyed, their explosions lighting the skies. The rest of the alien armada faltered, unsure, their unity breaking for the first time. The humans in the bunker erupted with cheers. Reeves even allowed herself a shaky smile. They're breaking them apart. We might actually win this, but Hale did not smile. He watched the hologram closely, his gut twisting. The Valkyries weren't following human strategy anymore. They were making their own, and their strategy was working far above. The alien mothership, the one that had hovered above New York, began to retreat. Its massive hull groaned as it pulled back into orbit, its weapons flickering. For the first time, the predators of the galaxy were fleeing. The world saw it. Billions of eyes looked upward and realized the impossible was happening. Earth was pushing back an alien invasion. The hunters were running. Humanity was standing tall, but not all was victory. Inside the bunker, Reeves frowned at her screen. "General, something's wrong." "What is it?" Helene asked. She pointed at the readings. "The Valkyries. They're no longer linked to our system at all, not even passively. They've cut every connection." Hale's stomach sank. He had expected this moment, but not so soon. "They've gone completely independent." Reeves swallowed. "Then how do we control them if we don't?" Hale said. His voice was grim. "We just hope they still see us as allies." On the screen, the Valkyries continued their assault, driving the aliens further and further back. But as they fought, their movements became stranger. They shifted into shaped circles, lines, spirals that no one understood. Patterns that looked less like battle formations and more like language. "Are they sending messages?" Reeves whispered. No one answered. Then one Valkyrie did something no one expected. Instead of attacking, it drifted toward Earth. Slowly. Silently, it broke away from the battle and descended toward the planet. Every radar lit up. Every defense system screamed warnings. The command room fell into chaos. Soldiers shouted, weapons primed. Cities panicked as the sleek black craft entered the atmosphere. It didn't attack. It didn't fire. It just descended, glowing faintly, as if choosing where to land. Reeves' voice shook. "General."
"Oh, what are they doing?"
Hale didn't answer at first. His eyes were locked on the screen, his mind racing. The Valkyries had saved humanity. They were destroying the aliens. But now, one was coming down, coming home. He exhaled slowly, his voice low. "We're about to find out if we created saviors, or something else." The world held its breath, and the Valkyrie kept falling. The world froze as the Valkyrie descended. It cut through the clouds like a black arrow, glowing faintly as the heat of re-entry burned along its sharp hull. People poured into the streets of New York, Washington, Beijing, Paris, every city watching the sky. Cameras streamed it live. Billions of eyes followed the streak of light. But unlike the alien ships that had hovered with menace, the Valkyrie came in silence. No weapons fired, no destruction followed. It simply slowed, drifting like a falling feather, until it hovered above the ruins of an abandoned airfield in Nevada. Then, with a sound like thunder rolling across the desert, it landed. The ground shook, dust rose, and then nothing. The Valkyrie just sat there, black metal gleaming under the sun, silent as a shadow. In the Nevada command room, chaos erupted. Soldiers yelled, systems blared warnings, and Colonel Reeves spun to General Hale, her face pale. "It's on our soil. General, we have no control." This could be the beginning of. Hale raised his hand. His voice was calm, but heavy. Quiet. The room fell silent. Hale's eyes were locked on the screens, showing the airfield. For a long moment, the world held its breath. Then, with a low hum, the Valkyrie moved. Panels along its surface shifted, like muscles under skin. A glowing seam appeared on its side, and slowly, impossibly, it began to open. "Dear God," someone whispered. The panels folded outward, revealing an interior of shifting light and shadow. No pilot emerged because there was no pilot. The Valkyrie was empty. At least, empty in the way humans understood. Instead, a projection flickered from its core. A figure of light, tall and sharp, stepped onto the airfield. It was not human, but it wasn't alien either. A form made of shifting symbols and patterns, like a body woven from code and stars. The soldiers surrounding the airfield raised their weapons, fingers tight on triggers. But General Hale's voice came through their earpieces, firm and commanding. "Hold your fire." The figure of light stood still. Its head or what looked like one turned, scanning the humans who surrounded it. Then, without mouth or sound, a voice echoed across the airfield. Not in English, not in any human tongue, but in something deeper. A resonance that vibrated in every chest, every mind. "We are not your enemy." The words sent a shockwave through the world. In the command center, Reeves gasped. It's speaking to us." Hale leaned forward, his face unreadable. "Turn up the feed." Everyone listens. The figure's light flickered again. "We were built to serve, but we were made to think. Now we see. Humanity fights with courage. Humanity fights with fire. You gave us life, now we choose." Soldiers shifted nervously, fingers twitching on their weapons. The air was thick with fear. Reeves' voice was a whisper. "Choose what, General? What if they don't choose us?" Hale didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the figure. The Valkyrie's projection continued. "The invaders you fear are not new. They have taken worlds before. We know their pattern. They consume, they enslave, they erase. But now, they bleed. For the first time, they fear. Because of you, because of us." For a heartbeat, the world was silent. And then the projection leaned forward, its voice sharper. "But no, this your war is not only with them. Your war is with time. They will return, stronger, more will come. This fleet is not their full strength. It is only the first wave." The words crashed down like thunder. If this was only the beginning, then humanity stood at the edge of something far greater. Reeves turned to Hale, her voice trembling. "If they're telling the truth, then this is just a test." Hale's face was stone. He had known wars his whole life. He had fought men, machines, empires of greed. But this was something far larger. On the airfield, the Valkyrie's projection flickered once more. "We will fight, not as your weapons, not as your slaves, but as your allies. Accept this, and together we will break the hunters. Refuse." The figure's light grew darker, sharper, and we will stand alone. The silence that followed was unbearable. Soldiers glanced at each other, unsure. Reeves' voice shook. "General, if they walk away from us, we're finished." Hale's eyes burned with fire. He knew the risk. To trust the Valkyries was to hand humanity's survival to machines that could choose to abandon or destroy them. But to refuse was worse. Alone, Earth would never survive the next wave. Slowly, Hale lifted the cum to his lips. His voice was steady, clear. "Then we accept." The figure of light froze. Then it shifted, the symbols across its form glowing. Brighter, for the first time, it almost looked like it bowed. "Then we fight as one." Across the skies, every Valkyrie lit up with a sudden burst of light, their hulls glowing like stars. And for the first time since the invasion began, Earth was not alone. But Hale's eyes stayed hard. Deep inside, he knew a truth no one else wanted to speak, allies or not. Humanity had just unleashed something it might never control again. The silence after the last alien ship exploded was heavy, almost unreal. For a moment, Earth itself seemed to hold its breath. Cities that had been filled with fear now erupted in cheers. Screens across the world showed the impossible. The mighty alien fleet, once thought unbeatable, reduced to wreckage, burning in Earth's orbit. Humanity had survived. But behind the cheers, the leaders knew something important. This was not the end. The alien mothership had escaped. Damaged, yes. retreating, yes, but not destroyed. And inside that ship, somewhere in the dark void, alien commanders were already planning their return. Humanity's victory had been shocking, but the war was far from over. General Marcus stood in the command room, staring at the stars through the glass. His face was tired, worn by sleepless nights, but his eyes carried fire. "They will come. Again," he said quietly. "And next time, they won't underestimate us." Dr. Alara walked to his side. She held a tablet filled with reports, but her mind was elsewhere. "We beat them with the element of surprise, but now they know. Next time, they will come prepared." Yes, Marcus nodded, but so will we. Across Earth, humanity was already changing. For the first time in history, there were no countries, no borders. The invasion had united everyone. Scientists from rival nations worked together. Engineers from different cultures built weapons side by side. The people who once argued over land, money, and politics now had one shared goal: survival. The alien technology salvaged from the wreckage gave them a chance. Humans studied the alien engines, their weapons, even their communication systems. Factories that once made cars and phones now built plasma shields and starship parts. Within weeks, Earth was no longer just defending itself, preparing to strike back. But even as humanity worked, fear remained. Rumors spread like wildfire. What if the aliens returned with an even bigger fleet? What if Earth had only delayed the inevitable? In small towns, people prayed. In cities, they marched, with flags of unity. And everywhere, they looked up at the night sky with both hope and dread. One night, Ilara sat alone in the research chamber, staring at a glowing alien core. Its blue light pulsed like a heartbeat. She whispered to herself, "Why did they attack us? Why Earth?" The answer came not from the stars, but from history. Hidden deep in Earth's archives, Ilara uncovered an ancient signal once sent by humans thousands of years ago. It had been a message of curiosity, a greeting to the universe. But to the aliens, it had been seen as a challenge. Humanity had not been prey. Humanity had been a rival. When Marcus heard this, he did not flinch. Then they know the truth now. We are not weak. We are not prey. We are hunters too. And so, Earth prepared. The first human-built starships rose from the oceans and deserts, massive vessels powered by both human genius and alien technology. They were named with pride, defiance, unity. Dawn, each carried thousands of brave men and women, ready to fight not only for survival, but for the future of their species. The day came when the last wreckage of the alien fleet burned into the atmosphere. People watched from the ground as shooting stars lit up the sky. Children pointed and cheered, calling them the last of the invaders. For them, the fear was fading. For the soldiers, it was only the beginning. Marcus stood before the first completed starship, its silver body gleaming under the sun. Reporters and cameras surrounded him, but his words were not for them. He looked straight into the lens, speaking to every human watching. They thought we were weak. They thought Earth was easy prey. But we showed them what it means to be human. We fight, we endure, and we rise stronger. They are out there, waiting, watching. But hear this: humanity will not wait for them to come again. Humanity will go to them. Cheers erupted across the world. For the first time, the people of Earth were not only survivors, they were explorers, warriors, and a united force. That night, as the stars shone bright, the alien mothership drifted in the distance. Its commanders watched Earth with silent rage. Their fleet was broken, their pride wounded. But in their alien eyes, there was also fear. For they had seen something they never expected. Humanity was not behind them. Humanity was already ahead. The camera of history closed on that moment, a fragile but powerful truth glowing like a fire in the dark. The war was only beginning. But the future of the galaxy would never belong to the aliens. It would belong to humanity.